So what you're saying here is perfect. I want to hear that confidence. You know what I mean? So just sort of practice that word track as you go along.
Yeah, we absolutely would be competitive. What you can qualify for elsewhere, we most certainly.
Like when I say that I've been pre-approved at my bank, what I want is for you to go, awesome, great job, good job having good credit and getting that piece of it out of the way. It just makes everybody's life so much easier. I don't know what you have through your bank, but it sounds like you've got a really strong credit score. Why don't you come on down? There's really no reason that we wouldn't be able to get you the same rate, but if we have an opportunity to save you some money, would you like us to do that? Every single time they're gonna say yes, right? And then you go, awesome, when's a good time for you to stop in? I'll have you sit directly with my business manager. They'll be able to go over everything with you. All you have to do there is just elevate your confidence level a little bit, get a little bit more comfortable with that word track, and you'll be golden. So when you put me on hold here, you put me on hold for a little bit too long. I like to see a max hold time of like maximum of 15 seconds. The problem is when you put somebody on hold for 30 seconds, 45 seconds, they start to wonder whether or not you've actually forgotten about them. So if you ever have to put somebody on hold for more than 15, 20 seconds, just pick the phone back up and say, hey, I'm still checking into that for you. Didn't want you to think that I had forgotten about you. Because literally after 30 seconds, people start thinking that they're going to get disconnected or that they're going to get put back into like a reception or something. That's not really what we want. Also, before you put me on hold here, it's a good idea to, first of all, let me know that you're about to put me on hold and then use that as a reason to get my phone number. So when you were about to put me on hold, you could have just said, just in case we get disconnected, what's the best number to reach you back at? That way you maintain some control. If I do get disconnected, you can still follow up with me. And I mean, you get a phone number, right? That's the other whole point of that whole thing.
It's silver, right?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. When did you want to take it for a drive?
Well, I like the way that you asked me really nice and early in the call, when would you like to take it for a drive? Basically just sets the tone, establishes that, hey, the only way to really get a good feel for this car is to come in and take it for a drive. I like the way that you assumed that that's what I wanted. I'm fine with that. Basically, it's what I'm looking for,
Okay, awesome.
So you've established, you've sort of gotten me to establish that, well, this is actually just the exact car that I want. The price is pretty well within range. So right there, when I say that, it's actually exactly what I'm looking for. That's right when you can take me right down. Just be confident about it. Well, Jim, it sounds to me like it's exactly the car that you want. It's the exact color that you want. It's got great gas mileage. The price is within the range. It sounds like this is probably the right car for you. So why don't you come on down, make sure it's the one you want, and I'm sure we'll be able to make you happy with the figures when you get here. So I like where you were going with that. You can just transition into being super confident. When I'm done saying what I have to say, you can just take me right down. Okay?
Yep.
Or when you're talking about, what are the things that drew you toward this vehicle? I like the fact that that's a nice open-ended question. It's inviting me to have a conversation with you. And I think where you're going with that is you're going to sort of use whatever I say as a reason to close me down on the appointment, right? That's really awesome. I love that. Wondering what's the best price I can get on that car?
Absolutely. We're certainly open to talking about it. When did you want to come in?
So a really good way to sort of bring that customer in, acknowledge the fact that they asked for a better price or asked for a discount, but also bring them in, is just to use the word track. Well, Jim, a lot of research goes into that price, but there are certainly times when adjustments are made. When's a good time that you'd be able to come in, take a look at the vehicle in person, ensure that it's the one you want, and I'm sure we'll be able to make you happy with the figures. It's a nice, easy way to just sort of transition and basically leave the door open a little bit for a negotiation, but also validate the price and demonstrate that we're not coming off of it that much, but still bring the customer in. So do you guys offer financing there?
Yeah, we absolutely offer financing.
All right, and roughly what can I get for a rate? What are your rates right now?
They do vary depending on, I guess, your credit level. Do you have any credit concerns?
Good. As we know, interest rate is kind of a loaded question. It's one of those things where if a customer asks about the interest rate, if you give away too much information or if you say the wrong information, then you can lose the customer right there. A better question to ask though than credit concerns, because if you ask the wrong person if they have credit concerns, you could offend them, right? So if I'm an 800 Beacon score and you ask me if I have credit concerns and if I happen to be easily offended, I might go, well, no, I don't have credit problems. I've got perfect credit. I want to make sure that I'm not going to get too high of an interest rate. So a better question to ask at that point would just be, have you already secured a rate through your own lending institution? And then I'm going to do one of a couple things. I'm either going to go, yes, I have. And then you can say, okay, perfect. You don't have to share that rate with me. I just want you to know that whatever the rate is that you've got already, we will be able to get you the same, if not better. And worst case scenario, we will give you the paperwork and you can go right back to the bank. So there's no reason that you're ever going to pay a higher rate than you have to here with us. The other option is that I might say, no, I haven't been pre-approved for my credit union or my bank. And then you can go, okay, great. We've got about 25 different ones that we work with. So we'll show you all of your various options. One thing's for sure, you're not going to be able to get a better rate anywhere else than you'll be able to get with us. As a matter of fact, most people who decide to finance their vehicle decide to place their financing with one of our finance sources because we have so many options and we're able to provide the best terms available. Sort of other things that you can ask the customer that give them reassurance and motivate them to come into the dealership without asking them about their credit, because what happens if the guy goes, well, yeah, my credit's terrible. Now where are you going? Now you're gonna have to make up a story and say, well, we finance anybody. And then he's gonna show up on a Saturday and he's gonna make a scene in the showroom if we can't get him done. You know what I mean? So tread lightly around the whole credit thing if you possibly can. If the customer brings credit up and says, my credit's horrible, can you finance me? Then you can say, Jim, you know what? I can't ever make anybody any promises. However, the good news is that most of the customers who come to us who've been declined elsewhere end up being able to get approved with us because we have such a great variety of financing sources. So again, no promises, but if anybody's going to be able to do it for you, we're going to be able to. The important piece there is saying no promises, because when you tell somebody that you can't make them a promise, they trust you more because you're not willing to overpromise and then underdeliver. So in a way, it draws them to you and they go, I know you can't make any promises. And then you're sort of off the hook, which is ultimately what you want. We want them to come in the door. We don't want to have to give them all this information over the phone because we really can't give them all this information over the phone. This guy says I'm over an hour away. So he's kind of using that as leverage to make you feel like you have to give him a price over the phone or a better price over the phone. A pretty nice, easy way to sort of overcome that I'm over an hour away thing is to go, awesome. Because we offer such aggressive pricing and we do so much online marketing, people come from an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours routinely, and they typically end up buying the car because the price is right and they love the condition of the vehicle and they love the way that we're treated. So great that you're coming from an hour away. You're joining a really great class of people.
Yeah, so it looks like there's been no accidents. And it looks like it's pretty low mileage for its year as well.
Good. Important to point out some selling points and some reasons that they should buy it. Even if the car had been in an accident, the most important thing to make sure that you express to this customer is that when we took the car in, we did a very thorough check to it. So, you're more than welcome to check it out yourself, but this vehicle's been through our service department and has been very rigorously inspected, so there's really no reason to think that even if it had been in an accident, that there would be any known issues with it still. Other thing to keep in mind and to pay attention to when it comes to accidents is check for airbag deployments and check for frame damage. Those are really the key items that can negatively affect a vehicle's overall condition quality over time. So if there's no airbag deployment and there's no frame damage, then be sure to point that out to the customer because it can just serve as reassurance. I noticed the car is a rental, which honestly kind of concerns me a little bit. I mean, I know that rentals tend to be, you know, kind of beaten on, and so it kind of makes me a little bit concerned that, you know, and I also don't know why this car was bought in California and then only registered for a little while in Florida, you know, which is one of the reasons that I wanted to try and pay a little less for it.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I can see where you would expect that. But I know a lot of rental companies, especially around here, when they do rent out a vehicle, they do expect it to be maintained. Otherwise, that person's going to end up paying for it. I really think that you should come in and take a look at the car and take it for a drive yourself, just to see if it is a great fit for you.
Love that. You know, you overcame the rental car thing, right back to, Jim, why don't you just come in for an appointment? Why don't you just come in? Like, what are we doing here? You know, so you're like, so he or I am, you know, trying to take you off track a little bit, and you're sort of getting me right back on to where I should be. Something else that you can mention about the rental car thing is, like, as soon as the rental car thing comes up, because it will, and it comes up all the time with used cars, you know, almost like as soon as you hear about the rental car, you can sort of treat it like, I know, I hear you, Jim. I understand. A lot of people have that concern about rental cars, but here's what they've found for the most part. Rental car agencies are in the business of having happy customers that love the car they're driving, which means that they tend to take even better care of their vehicle than an individual consumer who's maybe leasing the car for 3 years. I mean, that person knows they're giving the car back in 3 years. The rental car agency knows that if they have a bunch of customers that are breaking down in their cars all over the place, then they're not going to have a bunch of customers for much longer, right? So rental car agencies actually tend to take better care of their vehicles. I understand why you feel the way you do. That has certainly been sort of the myth about rental cars for a long time. But we find that it's actually not the case whatsoever. If we buy a vehicle from a rental car agency, we usually have to do less work to it than if we were to buy a car from as a trade-in or just as an off-lease vehicle. And by the way, there's a ton of reasons that a vehicle could have been purchased for only 3 months and then traded back in. You know, somebody bought the vehicle and realized they didn't like the color, or they bought a vehicle and realized they were having another child, so a small Ford Focus isn't going to work anymore. There's tons of reasons, but very rarely do they have anything to do with the fact that the car is a lemon, so I got to trade it back in. And I mean, in that case, we wouldn't sell it to you. Like, we would have no reason to sell this car to you. We would send it to the auction and let somebody else fight over it, but we wouldn't have any reason to just sell you the car and hope that you didn't come back as an upset customer in a week. So no worries there. So just a couple other tools in your toolbox if you get those kinds of questions, those concerns about rental cars, and, you know, if a vehicle has like a checkered past, so to speak. Okay? I'd like to do that.
Okay. When do you have the time to come in? We're here until 8 o'clock today.
Again, that enthusiasm. The problem is, if you leave it too wide open, the customer could pick something out from next week, right? And we don't want an appointment for next week. If an appointment is set for 2 days from now, it's almost not even a real appointment because they aren't going to show up in most cases. So if you possibly can, when the customer sort of lays it out for you on a silver platter, like, yeah, I'll come in. Perfect. Would later on today be good, or would tomorrow morning be better? You don't have to say it like you're giving them an either or. You just want to give them two options. They can pick a different option out of the air if they want to. So it's not like you have to say, would today be good or would tomorrow be better? Well, that's sort of limiting. What I like to just do is give people two options. They'll probably choose one of them. But at a minimum, they'll at least choose one that's close to today. And that's the important thing. We want them to choose something that's close to today. An appointment made for next week, you might as well not even make it. It's not real. They're not coming. So give them an option and be confident about it. Be happy that they're coming in. Give them that extra little bit of enthusiasm. Great, we can't wait to see you. And then make sure that you also try and set them up with a sales manager or an appraiser or a finance manager, somebody who is going to be able to work through whatever their problem, their concern has been on the phone. It just lends more legitimacy to the appointment. and it just increases the likelihood that they're going to show up for it and buy a car. And ultimately, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. So, yeah, nice job. We'll do this again. We'll do this again next week. Let me know if you have any questions in the meantime.